Today we are going to talk about pathogenesis of trigeminal neuralgia. I would like to discuss the pathogenesis of trigeminal neuralgia under two conditions. First is a condition 1 and second is a condition 2. So condition 1 basically represent the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia and condition 2 basically represent the pathogenesis of symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. As we know that clinically there are two types of trigeminal neuralgia. First is a classical trigeminal neuralgia and second one is a symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. So let's begin with the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia. That is a condition number 1. So here is a condition 1. So when we talk about the condition 1, that is a pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia. So what happened? So this is actually midbrain. This is midbrain. This is a pons, and this is medulla, and this is spinal cord. Now this is cerebellum. Now what happened? The trigeminal root leave the midbrain, leave the brainstem. So when we talk about the brainstem, so midbrain, pons and medulla collectively called the brainstem. Three structure of the brain is collectively called the brainstem. First is the midbrain, second is pons, and third is medulla. So the root of the trigeminal nerve leave the brainstem through the mid-pontine region, which is more specifically called anterolateral mid-pons, anterolateral surface of the mid-pons. So when we talk about the anterolateral surface of the mid-pons, or when we talk about the mid-pons through which the root of the trigeminal nerve leave the midbrain, leave the brainstem. So consider this is a pons, and this is a pons, and this is the midbrain, mid-pons, sorry. This is the mid-pons, so this is basically the mid-pons. So what happened? The root of the trigeminal nerve leave the brainstem through the mid-pons or anterolateral surface of the mid-pons. So consider this is the trigeminal root, and it leave the brainstem through the mid-pons. So this is the trigeminal root, and it leave the brainstem through the mid-pons. So this is basically the trigeminal root. Now the trigeminal root, if the trigeminal root leave the brainstem through the mid-pons, it enter into the what? It enter into the trigeminal ganglion. So after leaving the brainstem through the mid-pons, the root of the trigeminal nerve enter into the trigeminal ganglion. So consider here the trigeminal ganglion. So consider this is the trigeminal ganglion. This is trigeminal ganglion. So the trigeminal root enter into the trigeminal ganglion. So the trigeminal root enter into the trigeminal ganglion, and after enter into the trigeminal ganglion, what happened? The three branches of the trigeminal nerve emerge from the trigeminal ganglion. So when we talk about the three branches of the trigeminal nerve, so here is the V1, and here is the V2, and here is the V3. So this is V1, this is V2, and this is V3. Now, so this is all about the trigeminal root, trigeminal ganglion, and branches of the trigeminal nerve. Now what happened? The culprit of the pathogenesis or the culprit of the classical trigeminal neuralgia is the anomalies related to the superior cerebellar artery. What happened? The classical trigeminal neuralgia is basically arises due to the anomalies of superior cerebellar artery. So what happened? The superior cerebellar artery. So from here the superior cerebellar artery arises. From here, from this region, what happened? The superior cerebellar artery arises. Now, what happened? Initially, the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve. So this is the root of the. This is actually the root of the trigeminal nerve. So initially, what happened? The superior cerebellar artery. Initially, what happened? The superior cerebellar artery so this is the superior cerebellar artery. So initial what happened? The superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve. So this is the superior cerebellar artery. So this is the superior cerebellar artery. This is what? This is superior cerebellar artery. Superior cerebellar artery. Now, this is the trigeminal root. This is trigeminal root. Now, what happened in classical trigeminal neuralgia? What happened? The superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve. Now, what happened if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve? If the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve, what happened? There is a compression of the root of the trigeminal nerve. So initially what happened? Superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve. This superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve. So superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve. If the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve, what happens? There is a compression of root of trigeminal nerve. So it causes compression. So it causes compression. Compression of root of trigeminal nerve. So if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal nerve, it causes the compression of the root of trigeminal nerve. Now, if there is a compression of the root of trigeminal nerve, it causes attrition of the root of trigeminal nerve. It causes what? It causes attrition. So it causes attrition. Attrition of the root of trigeminal nerve. Now, if the attrition of the trigeminal root of the trigeminal nerve arises, it basically leads to the demyelination. It basically causes demyelination. Demyelination. Now, demyelination of the root of trigeminal nerve finally leads to injury. Finally leads to the injury to the root of trigeminal nerve. And if there is an injury to the root of trigeminal nerve arises, it finally trigger the pain of trigeminal neuralgia. It finally trigger the pain of trigeminal neuralgia. So when we talk about the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia, initially what happened, the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve. If the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve, it causes compression of the root of the trigeminal nerve. And if there is a compression of the root of trigeminal nerve occurred, it causes the attrition of the root of the trigeminal nerve. And if there is any attrition occurred in the root of trigeminal nerve, this finally leads to the demyelination of the root of trigeminal nerve. And if there is any demyelination occurred in the root of trigeminal nerve, it ultimately causes the injury to the root of trigeminal nerve. And if there is any injury occurred in the root of trigeminal nerve, this injury trigger the pain of trigeminal neuralgia. And this pain, or the pain which is triggered in the trigeminal neuralgia, is a severe pain. Now the question arises, why this pain, or the pain which is occurred in the trigeminal neuralgia, is severe? The pain which is occurred in the case of trigeminal neuralgia is severe due to the generation of the local action potential. Now these local action potential is generated due to the irritated attrited side when the mild signal or mild sensory signal is transmitted from the periphery, or mild signal or mild sensory signal is coming from the periphery. So this is overview of the what? This is overview, basically the overview of the pathogenesis of what? Pathogenesis of the classical trigeminal neuralgia. When we recapitulate once more the pathogenesis of a classical trigeminal neuralgia, so initially what happened, the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve. And if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve, what happened, there is a compression of the root of trigeminal nerve, and if the compression of the root of the trigeminal nerve take place, it causes the attrition of the root of trigeminal nerve, and attrition of the root of the trigeminal nerve causes the demyelination of the root of trigeminal nerve, and demyelination of the root of trigeminal nerve causes the injury to the root of trigeminal nerve, and injury to the root of trigeminal nerve finally trigger the pain of trigeminal neuralgia. Now when we talk about why the pain which is occurred in the case of trigeminal neuralgia is a severe pain, or we can say that what is the cause of trigeminal neuralgia pain. So let's talk about the cause of trigeminal neuralgia pain, which also comes under the pathogenesis of the trigeminal neuralgia. So here is the overview of the pathogenesis of what? Overview of the pathogenesis of the classical trigeminal neuralgia. Now after that, let's begin with the cause of the trigeminal neuralgia pain, or cause of the severe pain which occurred in the case of trigeminal neuralgia. So pain, or the severe pain occurred in the trigeminal neuralgia is due to the generation of local action potential. And if this local action potential is generated, these local action potential basically responsible for the generation of severe pain. So when we talk about the causes of this severe pain, so before that I would like to discuss about the type of sensory fiber. So sensory fiber are basically four types. First one is the A alpha fiber, second one is the A beta fiber, third one is the A delta fiber, and fourth one is the C fiber. So when we talk about the sensory fiber, so there are four types of sensory fiber. First sensory fiber is A alpha fiber. Now second type of sensory fiber is first type of sensory fiber is A alpha fiber. Second type of sensory fiber is A beta fiber. Third type of sensory fiber is A delta fiber. And the fourth type of sensory fiber is C fiber. Now this is the four type of sensory fiber. Now when we talk about the myelination of this type of fiber, so A alpha fiber is heavy myelinated. So A alpha fiber is basically heavy myelinated. So this is the A alpha fiber, and this A alpha fiber is what? This A alpha fiber is a heavy myelinated. Now when we talk about the second fiber, this is the A alpha fiber which is heavy myelinated. Now when we talk about the second fiber, that is A beta fiber. So A beta fiber is also heavy myelinated, but it is less myelinated as compared to A alpha fiber. So when we talk about the A beta fiber, so it is also heavy myelinated. So this is the A beta fiber, and this A beta fiber is also heavy myelinated. But when we compare the A alpha fiber to the A beta fiber, so A alpha fiber is more myelinated than the A beta fiber. Now when we talk about the A delta fiber, so A delta fiber is a less myelinated. So A delta fiber here is a less myelinated. So this is the A delta fiber, and this A delta fiber is less myelinated. So this is a delta fiber, and this A delta fiber is less myelinated. Now after that, the last fiber is a C fiber, and C fiber is a least myelinated, or there is no myelination. Sometimes there is no myelination in C fiber. So this C fiber is a least myelinated, and sometimes there is no myelination in C fiber. So this is all about the four types of sensory fiber. Now what about the arrangement of this fiber? So A alpha fiber is present in the periphery of the sensory bundle. So if we consider this is a sensory bundle of the sensory fiber, so this is a, if this is a sensory bundle of the sensory fiber, so A delta fiber, A alpha fiber is present in the periphery, and beneath the A alpha fiber, what happened beneath the A alpha fiber, A beta fiber is present, and beneath the A beta fiber, A delta fiber is present, and in the center or in the core of the sensory bundle, what happens? C fiber is present. Now what happens if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal ganglion? These superior cerebellar artery basically cause the demyelination of A alpha fiber and A beta fiber because it is present in the periphery. So when we consider here the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal ganglion. So if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal ganglion, so it basically cause the demyelination of what? It basically cause the demyelination of A alpha fiber and A beta fiber. It is not going to cause the demyelination of what? It is not going to cause the demyelination of A delta fiber and C fiber. So what happens if the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of trigeminal ganglion? It causes the demyelination of A alpha fiber and A beta fiber. So if the demyelination of A alpha fiber and A beta fiber occurred, so what happens? The A alpha fiber and A beta fiber become like this. So this is the A alpha fiber, this is A alpha fiber, and this is A beta fiber, and this is A delta fiber, and this is C fiber. And here the superior cerebellar artery loop over the, and here the superior cerebellar artery which loop over the this is the superior cerebellar artery which loop over the root of the trigeminal ganglion. Now what happen if A alpha fiber and A beta fiber demyelination occurred? So what happened? This A alpha fiber is basically responsible, which is a heavy myelinated fiber, and this A alpha fiber is responsible for proprioception sensation or proprioceptive sensation. This A beta fiber is also heavy myelinated but less than A alpha fiber, and it is responsible for fine touch and tactile sensation. And when we talk about the A delta fiber, it is less myelinated and responsible for fast pain sensation. And C fiber is least or no myelinated and it is responsible for slow pain sensation. The action of the A delta fiber is rapid. A delta fiber and A beta fiber, both a fiber having rapid action rate. But when we talk about the A delta fiber having moderate action rate and C fiber having the slow or least action rate. So basically A alpha fiber is responsible for proprioceptive sensation and A beta fiber is responsible for fine touch and tactile sensation. So in it classical trigeminal neuralgia, what happened? There is a demyelination of A alpha and A beta fiber. So if there is a demyelination occurred in A alpha and A beta fiber, so what happened? The A alpha fiber is responsible, and if the A alpha fiber which is responsible for proprioceptive sensation, this A alpha fiber excite the A beta fiber and A beta fiber excite the A alpha fiber. Because there is no demyelination occur between the A alpha and A beta fiber, so there is a short circuit like effect. For example, in short circuit like effect, what happen? Here is a positive charge wire and here is a negative charge wire. So if the positive charge wire and negative charge wire, what happened? Touch each other. So there is a short circuit like effect. So here similar things happen. A alpha fiber, there is a demyelination occur in the A alpha fiber, and along with that there is a demyelination occur in A beta fiber. So what happen? A alpha fiber excite the A beta fiber and A beta fiber also excite the A alpha fiber. How these excitation take place? So basically what happen, if from the periphery any proprioceptive impulse come, so these proprioceptive impulse from the periphery excite the A alpha fiber, and along with this A alpha fiber it also excite the A beta fiber. And if there is any fine touch and tactile sensation fiber coming from the periphery, it excite the A beta fiber, and along with A beta fiber it also excite the A alpha fiber. Now So it means A alpha and A beta fiber is known as a hyperexcitable fiber because there is a hyperexcitation occurring A alpha and A beta fiber. So basically what happens, these A alpha and A beta fiber, these two fiber is considered as a what? These two fiber is considered as hyperexcitable fiber. So these A alpha and A beta fiber is considered as hyperexcitable fiber. Hyperexcitable fiber. Now these hyperexcitable fiber generate local action potential because A delta fiber, what happen, A delta fiber excite the A beta fiber and A beta fiber excite the A delta fiber. So there is a generation of action potential. So hyperexcitable fiber generate local action potential, generate local action potential, generate local action potential. And if the local action potential is generated, this action potential spills, or basically what happen, if the A delta fiber and A beta fiber generate local action potential, so what happen, spills action potential to the A delta fiber. So what happen, this action potential is basically spills to A delta fiber. It means this action potential reach to the A delta fiber and excite the A delta fiber, and A delta fiber is responsible for the first pin. So these generate local action potential, and after generating local action potential, what happen, spills action potential to A alpha fiber, or we can say that the spills action potential to the pain fiber. So spills action potential to pain fibers. Now if this process take place continue, so continue produce the action potential and continue action potential spills to the pain fiber. And if this process take place continuous, so it generate the electric shock like pain. So if this process take place continuously, so what happen, electric shock like pain occur. And this electric shock like pain is considered as trigeminal neuralgia pain or severe pain associated with trigeminal neuralgia. So when we recapitulate these phenomena, so basically what happened, there are 4 types of sensory fiber: A alpha fiber, A beta fiber, A delta fiber and C fiber. A alpha fiber is a heavy myelinated and responsible for proprioceptive impulse. And when we talk about the action rate of A delta fiber is a rapid action rate. When we talk about the A beta fiber is a heavy myelinated but it is less myelinated as compared to A alpha fiber and responsible for fine touch and tactile sensation, and it has a rapid action rate. When we talk about the A alpha fiber, it is responsible, when we talk about the A delta fiber, it is responsible for pain sensation and it is least myelinated. And when we talk about the action rate, so it has moderate action rate. When we talk about the C fiber, so this C fiber is least or no myelinated and it is responsible for slow pain sensation, and when we talk about the action rate, it has least action rate. So basically what happened, the arrangement of this fiber is such a way the A alpha fiber is present in the periphery, beneath the A alpha fiber A beta fiber is present, and beneath the A beta fiber A delta fiber is present, and beneath the A delta fiber C fiber is present. Now in case of classical trigeminal neuralgia, what happens, superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of of trigeminal neural loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve. If the superior cerebellar artery loop over the root of the trigeminal nerve, it causes the demyelination of A alpha fiber and A beta fiber, thus not going to cause the demyelination of A delta and C fiber. Now, if the A alpha and A beta demyelination occurred, it caused the hyperexcitability. It caused the excitation of the A alpha fiber by the A beta fiber and excitation of the A beta fiber by the A alpha fiber. So these two fiber, A alpha fiber and A beta fiber, is considered as hyperexcitable fiber, and these hyperexcitable fiber generate local action potential. This local action potential, what happens, splits action potential to the pain fiber and continuous process. If this process continuously occur, it causes the electric shock like pain. So this is basically all about the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia or pathogenesis which comes under the condition 1. So the main culprit of the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia is anomalies related to the superior cerebellar artery. So this is a superior cerebellar artery. So main culprit is superior cerebellar artery. So main culprit of these classical trigeminal neuralgia is superior cerebellar artery. Now when we talk about the superior cerebellar artery, so this superior cerebellar artery is actually, so when we talk about the superior cerebellar artery, so this superior cerebellar artery, so this is actually the superior cerebellar artery. So this superior cerebellar artery is actually arises from the basilar artery. So this is a basilar artery. So this superior cerebellar artery is basically arises from what? This superior cerebellar artery arises from basilar artery. And along with the superior cerebellar artery, so this is what? This is superior cerebellar artery. So this superior cerebellar artery arises from the basilar artery, and along with that, along with the superior cerebellar artery, two other arteries are also arises from the basilar artery. One is the pontine artery and second is the anterior inferior cerebellar artery. So first is here is the pontine artery. So consider this is a pontine artery. So this is a pontine artery, and along with that one more artery. Here is one more artery, and this is known as what? This is known as anterior inferior cerebellar artery. So anterior inferior cerebellar artery is the artery which arises from the basilar artery. Now this basilar artery arises from what? This basilar artery arises from the vertebral artery. So this is a superior cerebellar artery which arises from the basilar artery, and along with this superior cerebellar artery, pontine artery and anterior inferior cerebellar artery is also arises from the basilar artery. Now when we talk about the basilar artery, it arises from the vertebral artery or anterior spinal artery. So here what happens? So this is basically arises from anterior spinal artery. And here is a vertebral artery. Here is a vertebral artery. So it is important because the main culprit of the classical trigeminal neuralgia is what? So the main culprit of the classical trigeminal neuralgia is superior cerebellar artery. So this is actually how the superior cerebellar artery arises. So here is the anterior spinal artery. This one is the anterior spinal artery. This is the anterior spinal artery. Now the branch of anterior spinal artery communicate with the vertebral artery, and the vertebral artery arises from the posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So this is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and this posterior inferior cerebellar artery gives rise to vertebral artery, and vertebral artery combined with the branch of anterior spinal artery form the basilar artery, and basilar artery give rise to what? The basilar artery give rise to here the anterior inferior cerebellar artery, and here is a pontine artery, and here is the superior cerebellar artery. So this is all about the superior cerebellar artery, which is the main culprit of the classical trigeminal neuralgia. So this is all about the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia, and this is all about the condition 1. Now after that, when we talk about the condition 2, so in condition 2 basically represent the pathogenesis of symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. So what happened? So again, this is a midbrain. Again, this is midbrain. This is pons. Now this is medulla. This is spinal cord. And this is cerebellum. Now what happened again? The root of a trigeminal nerve leave the brain stem through the midpontine region or anterolateral surface of the mid-pons. So, and after leaving the brain stem, the root of the trigeminal nerve enter into the trigeminal ganglion. So here is again the trigeminal ganglion. So this is a beautiful trigeminal ganglion. and from the trigeminal ganglion 3 branches of the trigeminal nerve arises. This one is V1, this is V2, and this is V3. Now this is basically what? This is basically the trigeminal root. Now what happened in symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia? The culprit or the dangerous culprit is associated with the trigeminal root. So here is the dangerous culprit. So here is what? Here is the dangerous culprit. So here is the dangerous culprit of the trigeminal neuralgia. So this is the this is basically the dangerous culprit of the trigeminal neuralgia, and this dangerous culprit may be what? This dangerous culprit may be meningiomas, maybe neurofibroma, maybe aneurysm, etc. So this dangerous culprit which is associated with the trigeminal root precipitate the symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. So basically there is no very more things or very so there is no So in what happen in case of a symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia, the culprit is associated with the trigeminal root, and this culprit which is associated with the trigeminal root precipitate the symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia, and this culprit may be meningiomas, neurofibromas, and aneurysm. So this is all about the symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. So this is all about the pathogenesis of classical trigeminal neuralgia, and second is the symptomatic pathogenesis of the symptomatic trigeminal neuralgia. Thank you.